You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan Klein Show, where today we're going to be talking to a fish. No, not Mr. Limpet, not Abe Vigoda, Fish Lee, and he's going to tell us about his new book, The Green Zone, in just a minute. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. It is Wednesday, and I'm a little punchy. I did stay up and watch the second episode of Moon Knight, which got even more twisty and turny, and they're definitely taking it places I didn't expect. But we will have our open spoiler discussion about it tomorrow. So come back for that, but stick around as we are going to speak to Fisher Lee, or Fish Lee, the gentleman behind the new book, The Green Zone. Mr. Lee, how are you?
I am doing good, man. That Abe Vigoda pull, that's gold, man. That goes so far back. I loved him so much as a kid. Just somebody else with the name Fish gave me such peace, even if it was this old dude. Oh, I love that.
I realized today when I was getting ready for the show that I didn't know if Fish was his first name, his last name, because he was just Fish.
Yeah, that's like I am. Like, everybody assumes it must be my last name. And with my last name being Lee, it's easy to assume that's a first name. But yeah, it's short for Fisher. Start beating her up. And I was like, seriously? The only dude on TV with my name, and you had to beat Aunt Jackie? Like, God.
Isn't there an actor named Fisher Stevens?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. So
there's a few of us out there.
It's a cool name. I don't know if I would go with Fish over Fisher, because Fisher's kind of cool, but
it's always been my name. Like, I don't think of it as weird because it's just always been what I'm called. So to me, it's a name. It's not until I meet somebody new and they go through how do you spell that? I'm like, I spell the same way you do. It's Fish. It's 4 letters. And then I will spell it. And they'll be, every time, how do you pronounce that? I'm like, we both just said my name. Like, how do you not? And then I realized that it's unusual. But, like, I've made a lot of friends over the years. I kind of collect friends with unusual names now, like Cinnamon and things like that. And we kind of commiserate about people not getting our names and struggling with it and stuff. And, nobody ever goes up to Dan and says, I know your mother didn't call you that. That's ridiculous. What was she, some kind of pot-smoking hippie? I'm going to call you Daniel because I feel like a fool saying Dan. You wouldn't say that. It's freaking insulting. But people said it to me growing up all the time. And so I kind of have a bit of a chip on my shoulder when people try and call me Fisher. And I'm like, no, my name's Fish. Because you wouldn't do that to Jeff or Bill or Rick or anybody else. You would just call them what they said their name was.
Yeah, but what I get a lot is Danny.
Yeah.
It's like, no, my name's not Danny. I didn't go,
Only a handful of people get to call me Fishy and get away with it.
I wouldn't want to call anybody Fishy. That just seems wrong.
My wife's on that short list. Yeah, there's only a handful of people that get to say that. And most of them are like under 5, and that's okay.
Yeah. The wife, girlfriend, they get special privileges,
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
Parents,
yeah.
My dad liked to call me Daniel. It's like, and no one else had ever called me that until my senior year of high school. And one of my teachers called that just out of the blue. And I was like, what the hell? It's like that. No,
I tell you want to talk about getting called something strange. I was at an AA meeting like last year, and this dude was leading the meeting for his first time. I've known this guy casually for months. We talk after the meetings, hang out, just chit chat and stuff. Like, he knows who I am. he's leading his first meeting. He's nervous. He starts it. He gives like the topic, and then he looks at me and he says, "Well, Moose, you always have a lot to say. Why don't you start us off?" And everybody in the place just got silent, looked at me, and then we all bust out laughing. Like, I've been called a lot of things. I've had a lot of people walk up and be like, frog, right? Like, that's pretty close. Same letter, aquatic, I'll take it. Moose was so far out of left field, I just could not help but bust out laughing. And he was red-faced. It takes everything I have not to call this dude Moose every time I see him now.
I had something similar, but from the person saying the name. I was at San Diego Con, and San Diego Con, thousands of names are going around. You're meeting a bunch of new people, and I'm in a group of people, and someone I know comes up, and I have to do the introductions, and I'm going around and I'm saying everybody's name, and I get to a guy named Sean McManus. And he's a nice guy for some reason, but I'm going along and I'm just throwing the names out, and I get to him. My mind doesn't have his name. There is a complete blank. So I just throw any word that pops in my head in its place, and I call him Lunchbox. I so keep going like it's nothing. And then everybody in the circle went, Lunchbox? So for the rest of the weekend, he was called Lunchbox.
I can't remember anybody's name at all. I don't care how many times you told it. If Dan wasn't on the bottom of the screen, I would never remember it. No matter how many Dans I have in my life, I would not remember it. And, and I'm really bad about just making stuff up on the spot. So people will turn into Slappy and Sugar Pants and all kinds of stuff, like whatever comes out in the moment. And, I've had some people be like, "Oh, you gave me a nickname." I was like, it was just random. It could have been peanut butter for all I know. Like I just threw something out because I couldn't think of anything else. We are so far off of any topic right now. But that's fine. I'm having fun.
We know why we're here. You've got a Kickstarter.
Absolutely.
Green Zone. We're going to put the link in the chat. But we'll get to that. Most Kickstarters, I think, are less about the subject than it is about the person that's doing it. You look at Brandon Sanderson. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Brandon Sanderson. He's a writer. He finished the Wheel of Time series for Robert Jordan when Robert Jordan passed. He went on to do his own books, Mistborn, all this other stuff. He's got a huge following. But during the pandemic, he wrote 4 novels just in spare time because he wasn't out at conventions and doing promotional tours. So he wrote 4 extra novels, but he didn't tell anybody. So the other day he came out and did a little video, and he's talking about how, it turns out I wrote an extra novel. Well, no, it turns out I wrote 2. Oh, no, I wrote 3. And he does this whole diatribe. Well, he launches this Kickstarter where basically you subscribe to the Kickstarter and you get all 4 novels as they're printed and all this extra stuff. Well, you don't know anything what these novels are about. It's just Brandon Sanderson has 4 new novels. The Kickstarter brought $41 million.
Dang. Well, see, that's the thing. If you know him, if you like him, if you follow him, you know you're going to enjoy what he does and the trip he takes you on. And that's why I want to get it out in front of as many people as possible. It's not that I'm trying to get rich, because at best I could pay the rent, I hope, with the proceeds. But I want you to see this world. I want you to get a hold of this story, because nobody that's read it has not gotten super excited about it. Most people that I've showed it to either like call me screaming on the phone and just freaking out about how awesome it is, or like start sending me stories that they've written or scripts for voiceovers for videos and stuff. Like, they get so excited they can't help but think of new characters and new situations and stuff. That brings me, that's like the excitement I got from Star Wars and He-Man, Thundercats and stuff as a kid.
Mhm.
8 feet tall, covered in scales and spikes, absolutely terrifying looking. I mean, he looks like a giant walking monster. Inside, he is the sweetest, most peaceful guy. He just wants to be left alone. He's not a fighter, he's not violent, but he lives in the slums because he was born a genome. And anybody born in this world with superpowers is a genome, and you get pushed into green zones, which are basically like inner city slums and forgotten about. You have to live in the blocks, which are these giant overbuilt ghettos so that you can't like laser blast your way out of them and stuff. And you just live in squalor, and the only path out is the citizenship accords. If you serve for 5 years the greater good in like the military, the police, the fire department, sanitation, if you serve for 5 years, you can get out and get your citizenship, get your green card, you can vote, you can own property. And the only thing he hates more than the cops is living in the blocks. So he's risking his life on the police force to try and get out. All he wants to do is open up a bookshop and just sit in the back and read books and pretend to be something other than a scary monster for the rest of his life. But he can't do that unless he risks his life first for 5 years as a cop. And so this is what he's doing. And, there's you get to see how stacked against them the system is, how humans treat them like rent-a-cops. Like, you're not really a cop. You're not even really a person. Your own kind treats you as a race traitor because, there have been so many genome cops that would like come take their frustrations out on people in the blocks and show what a big man they are. And, it's bad and it's tough. And so many people get into this for the wrong reasons, that everybody is a suspect and everybody is, trying to game the system somehow. We just got to catch them. And, it's interesting. And then you've got people that are genomes but look perfectly human, and their powers are very mild, and they can walk in and out of the green zone and nobody would ever raise an eyebrow. And, their lives are very different, but they still have to go through this. Like his training officer, his father, career police, has stayed in there his whole life, served his 5 years, got a little house outside, in a little genome suburb outside of the green zone. And his training officer has grown up with a charmed life and did not grow up the same way Virgil did, with no parents, alone in the slums. But he doesn't realize what a difference there is. He's like, oh, we're both genomes, oh yeah, humans, you know how they are. Like, does not live the same life Virgil does, and doesn't see the difference yet, but he's going to. And he's going to figure that out as the book goes on. One of the characters, Bellamy, is covered in these quills all over her body, razor sharp barbed quills. If she bumps into somebody on the subway, she can go, there she is. She could go to prison for years for unlawful use of supernatural force, just for sticking somebody accidentally because the bus hit a bump. And she's constantly afraid. She's constantly, holding her arms in and watching her elbows. And she's just uncomfortable in her own skin all the time because she's constantly afraid. And, it's just so rich. There's so much juicy storytelling in this place. Her training officer is in the top, the lady with the pointy ears. Her only genome ability is that she has spots and pointed ears. But as far as the humans are concerned, she's a walking nuclear weapon and has to be, relegated to the green zone. They all have to wear green stripes on their uniforms so the humans can spot them easily because, like Kim down here in the bottom right-hand corner, he looks perfectly normal, so we got to mark him. Can't have him walking around just, pretending to be human. And
all right, got a question.
Go ahead.
JD, put the first cover back up, please. All right. Couple things on there that I got to bring to people's attention. Number one, you've numbered it in 3 digits. Love the confidence. That means you plan it, to totally possible to get over 100 issues. You may even go to 999 issues.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got about 10 years of story in my head ready to go. Mm-hmm. By the end of this year, I'm hoping these first 3-4 issues of Green Zone do well enough that by the end of the year, I can go to doing Green Zone only and not have to illustrate everybody else's books to pay the bills. And from then on, it'll be at least every other month that I could put it out on my own. And if I can find an inker and a colorist fast enough to keep up with me, shoo, we're going to take over the world, son. I'm going to be putting out 2 or 3 issues a month at that point. Because I'm not called the fastest man in indie comics for no reason. I am crazy fast, but finding people that can keep up with me has been tough.
Okay, question 2. What is verse 27?
That is the reading order for all of Freestyle Comics. That goes throughout all of the books, starting with like Hot Shot 1, I believe, and we're on like the 12th issue of Hot Shot. I believe the 4th or 5th issue of Vigilance just came out. There's several issues of Heroes International. So that's the reading order through all those books for it to make the most sense and flow throughout it. Now, Green Zone takes place in its own universe, like Charlie McElvee's Spider Squirrel takes place in its own world, but the reading order goes through all of the books and, you know, helps you see the way they came out. And most all of those stories tie together. Like, I'm illustrating 5-star as well for Tony Clapper, and it is in the Hot Shot universe, you know, so its verse order fits right in with everything else. You see when he became a hero and got his powers and woke up and realized and, you know, started to learn to master them, and that all fits in with everything else. And Green Zone is going to tie in at points, but it's in its own universe doing its own thing because it's such an extreme system. You know, there's the whole world works around this system of this caste system with the genomes, and that's too big to work into an already existing universe with Hot Shot and Vigilance and all those other characters.
All right. So last night I'm watching Moon Knight, and without doing any spoilers, there's a bus that says WBN 0032. And for comic book fans, they go, well, that WBN is Werewolf by Night 0032. That's 32nd issue. That's the first appearance of Moon Knight. Now, bring the cover back up, JD. 2585-432-1051. Symbolism?
See, you are the kind of fan that I have been waiting to point that out. Like, I've been waiting for somebody to ask me about that. And I put lots of little things like that are sprinkled throughout the book. There's a whole lot of important things that are sprinkled in the first issue that aren't going to make sense until the 5th issue and the 10th issue and the 25th issue. And you'll still be going back down the road and be like, oh, that's who that dude was in the background. Okay. That's why he was wearing that hoodie. Okay. Like, it's going to make sense as it goes on. There's lots of little things I'm sprinkling. And there's lots of just little trinkets from my life that are sprinkled in there. Like, that was my home phone number as a kid in high school. It was 1-501-234-5852. And so I flipped it and made it his genome registration number. You know, it's his work permit, you know, to be able to do this job. And because I based it off of my phone number and I have OCD to go along with my Tourette's and ADHD and everything else, everything has to make sense. So now everybody else's numbers have to be based off of this number and where they fall in registration and stuff. And, you know, I'm doing a whole source book to go along with Green Zone that you can get at the Kickstarter. If you go to gomrfish.com, it'll take you right there. And I'm working on the source book to go with it. And I have to think like, okay, if they got in the system 10 years before Virgil did, where does their number fall? And like, there's all kinds of things. Like the car number that Bellamy and Waters drive around in is 501 because that's our area code here in my area in Arkansas. And I just think it's fun to put in little snippets like that.
All right, we need to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment with Fish Lee. Be right back.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit ComicShopLocator.com to find a store near you.
All right, we are back with Fish Lee. Let me do a couple little quick bits of business here. I'm going to be doing on the show a pick of the week, a comic that I think, that is tied into what's going on. My comic this week is Moon Knight #1 from Jed MacKay. This is This is the Gerardo Zaffino cover that I picked up recently that I absolutely love.
It's beautiful.
This is the Steve McNiven regular cover, but I am really a big fan of the Gerardo Zaffino one. And what's going to happen is soon the pick of the week is going to be in a frame right here, so you guys will be able to see it each week. But for today, I'm holding it up. You can check your local comic shop. If you don't know where your local comic shop is, check ComicShopLocator.com. Put in your zip code, and they will take you there. Otherwise, you can also go to DynamicForces.com, and they carry this. And I gave JD the link yesterday, so that you can go directly to the comic shop to Dynamic Forces if you want to get it through email, through mail. They also have the CGC graded versions of it as well. So that is the pick of the week. Moon Knight #1, having to do with, of course, the series going on Disney Plus. All right.
Oh.
Let's get back to talking with Fish about the Green Zone. Now, you have the Kickstarter up and running, right?
Yes, indeed. We are just a couple of days in, and we're already over 50% on it. I'm super excited about it. Got Project We Love, which I've gotten on most of the books I've done recently, but it felt really good to get it on one that was all mine, because this is my idea, my writing, my everything. And that just feels good, and seeing how excited everybody gets about it that's gotten to read it makes me feel good, makes me excited about it.
Yeah, you're not kidding when you say this is all you. I saw you had a color flatter working on the book, and everything else is you.
Everything I do, the pencils, the inks, the letters, everything but the editing, because I stink at spelling and stuff. And I found a couple of good editors that are not afraid to hurt my feelings and make me cry, and I love them for it, and makes the book better. But yeah, I started using Shane Kui from the Philippines about a year or so ago, and she sped up my work so much, like dramatically so. I owe this book to her because she sped up my work so much. I've been doing the Sentinel series for Roy Johnson at Standard Comics, and I think I just finished like my 5th or 6th issue with him. One issue that I did with her help, I got done in 12 days, and book was done, ready to go to print. And all of a sudden I've got a month that I had planned out to do this all by myself, but she sped it up so much by flatting it for me that I got done early, and I'm paid. And my wife was like, well, do something of your own. So I knocked out like the first 2 issues of Green Zone and got this just almost finished with the 2nd issue. And then we got sick. I lost some time before I had to get on the next book. But Yeah, so I absolutely brought her in to flat for me, and she has just she's great. I thought it was ridiculous. Why would you pay somebody to do this? You can do it yourself. And then I hired somebody, and she saves me so much freaking time that I make more money than what it costs to hire her to help me. I recommend it 100%. 100%. It is a great
So,
investment.
so to get into the behind the scenes on this, how does this work? She basically goes in, does a layer of flat colors, and then you come in and you put the shadows and the highlights in and all the
Well,
effects.
I still have to color it. Like the colors she picks will be absolutely ridiculous. Like she might make somebody's skin neon pink, but every place on the page that his skin is showing, it's that same neon pink. So when I set that as a reference layer and I click on his skin tone and on one finger up here in the top panel, everywhere on the page that's that neon pink gets selected. So on my layer I'm coloring, I can pick the color I want for his skin, go in and paint it that. I can pick the shadows that I want, and it's already masked out. I don't have to make a new mask around this hand to paint the shadows on one side and the highlights on the other. I just click on his hand, and every place that's his skin on the entire page is selected. And the lime green that she picked for his shirt, click that, everything on the page is selected. I make it the color I want it to be, paint in the highlights and shadows. Maybe I cut in some special selections for the wrinkles and stuff,
Yeah.
but just being able to click it and the selection's already made, I don't have to draw it out by hand again the way I was doing, saves me so much time using that as a reference layer to go by. And yeah, I send her the line art without the lettering and stuff, and she sends me back a layer that's just colors, and there's no she takes the anti-aliasing off, so there's no blur between it, so it's jagged pixelated lines of color, but I'm either getting the pink for his skin or the green for his shirt or the orange for her hair or whatever. There's no blending in that line between that doesn't get picked up, and she does such a good job of capturing, like, there's lots of little doodads on these guys in their uniforms. They've got their name tag on one side, their badge on the other. The badge has a green stripe on it. Their uniforms have the green stripes on it. They've got their belts and stuff. Every button on the pouches on their belts, she will have its own little color. So if I want to make all those buttons shine, I can do it. The buckles are all one color, and I can make them shine whatever. It's great. She does such a good job. I was spending so much time with the selection tool, just selecting around the face and cutting out the hair and cutting out the eyes, and just click on it and it's done. It is such a time saver.
Yeah. I when I got into the industry, now let's see, there was the wheel, sliced bread, and then me. Um, I got in doing everything as well. I don't pencil, but I wrote, I colored, I lettered, I inked, I did some layouts, and it was a little more rudimentary back with Photoshop then.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't touched that stuff in a long time, and I was wondering how the flatting worked, because you see flatters and
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, if they're just doing if their purpose is just to basically mark the areas with a unique, consistent color,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that I could see
Yeah.
that could save you tons of time.
And even like I've asked her, I was like, how much would it cost me to pay you to just put flat colors in? Like some comics, like the Hawkeye comic recently had amazing flat colors. Like, how much would it cost to do that? Because you're already doing this. Like, how much would? And she's like, no, it costs too much for me to pick the right colors. She works so fast because she doesn't have to think about what is the right color, how does this color play off of each other. It just has to be a unique color so that it's easy to pick. And like I gave her really good references for my characters. So on Green Zone, not on all the other books necessarily, but on Green Zone particularly, like their uniforms are all almost the right color in every scene. She'll make it slightly different so their pants can be selected from their shirt and stuff like that. But like Virgil's skin is the right color when I get into it. His horns are the right color. I add the spots and stuff, which saves me a lot of time. But for most everything, she's just picking a color that will work, and not having to think about it lets her work a whole lot faster. So she doesn't have to do that complicated part. And when I'm doing the complicated part of picking good colors that play off of each other, I don't have to worry about selecting stuff 100 times. And I got out of his arm. I have to change that and erase it. And I messed up the color behind that. I don't have to worry about any of that because the selection process is pretty much already all done for me. And
yeah, I could see how that would be great, especially I'm thinking, especially in a book like this. So, say you've got a scene where there's sirens going off, the red and blue lights. You're going to do colors differently because the light from the squad car or whatever is affecting. So, a uniform
everything around it. Yeah.
So,
but being able to just select that alley wall and then I can paint that however I want, or like she will if I've drawn it in enough detail, all the grout in the bricks will be one color and the bricks will be another. I could select all the bricks and then shrink that selection by 5 pixels or whatever to get a smaller area in there. Hit that with a highlight, and now you've got the shine on top of the bricks and a little bit of shadow around the bricks, and the grout's a different. It makes so many things so much faster. Like just being able to select the area, shrink it, or enlarge it and hit it makes, like if I want to put a glow on something, like if I want somebody's eyes to glow like they're going to shoot laser beams, I can select their eye, all their eyes on the page get it, increase that by 6 pixels so that it makes a bigger shape, go to a layer above the inks, paint it all like bright red, make it a screen layer so it's making that glow, hit Gaussian blur to blur the edges of it, and boom, they've all got glowing laser eyes all over the page like that.
Nice.
And it is so much faster. Like I'm a traditional artist at heart. I had a hard time switching to digital, but digital made more sense for me with my Tourette syndrome and stuff. I was a lot shakier when I started doing digital, and I needed the tools to help smooth out the trimmer in my hand and stuff. And now that I've gotten the hang of it and the feel of it, it's just so much faster. Like I could draw an amazing hero and then realize he's too big in the scene. There's no room for words. I don't have to erase him and start over. I can just select him and move him and, shrink him down a little bit. And boom, it's done. Then I go to inks because I can click undo on my inks and it's not like, well, it's there. It's stuck for life. My pencils are so rough now. Like if it's a book I do every day, like the Sentinels, most of my characters are rough shapes, a rough shape for the head, a cross for the eyes, and that's it. And I do all the rest of the work live in ink, on the page. But if I get the nose wrong, I can undo it real quick, or I can change it. And I couldn't do that with inks. I had to get it completely drawn out so I know where to put that brush with the ink so I don't make a mistake. And now I can be a lot freer and a lot faster. And, time is money. And it's also made my work more dynamic, and it has a little more passion and excitement to it. And it's a little bit looser, and it's not as perfectly accurate as it used to be, but it's got a more vibrant, lively feeling to it. And I love that as a happy accident that has come with working that much freer and faster.
I love the idea that the digital tools are making artists faster, but then every once in a while I stop and I think about Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
And how he used to pencil and do all that stuff. And I mean, they would pencil, they would ink, and they would letter on the page itself.
Mm-hmm.
All of that was directly done by hand on the page. And he was doing 3 books a month.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. I mean, he was fast, he was quick, he was good. But even like Jack, when you go back and look at like a lot of his pencils, a lot of times it's a vague shape for what's going to happen over here. And he did that work in ink. And, and when you get more comfortable with it, it's easier to do that. Like when I first found, what's his name? Kim Gee, however you pronounce it, the Korean guy that does the amazing sketchbooks and stuff, and just sits there in ink and doesn't pencil anything. When I first saw him, that challenged me. I've got to start trying this and figure it out. And started doing a whole lot more work just straight with brush pen and ink. And it helped me get a lot more confident in my lines. and also learn, like, if I make little mistakes, how to fix it and work it in so that it doesn't ruin the whole page. And that confidence and stuff has really helped speed me up in the digital work. And and I can knock out a lot of pages fast. And I definitely use the tools to my advantage that I have. Like, for instance, in Green Zone, they drive these big, overbuilt, like military Hummer looking police cars. Well, these cars are basically a character in the book. They're in it so much. So I hired a friend of mine to design a 3D model of the car for me, so I can pull it in, turn it into what ever angle I want, take a picture of it, and then put that in the book, and then I draw over it. So I mean, it's still drawn by my hand. It's drawn in my style. It looks like I drew it, but it saved me 2 hours of drawing this car out in perspective and making sure everything's right, just to realize I forgot the back doors, and now I have to erase it and start all over again. Like, I can draw the cars from hand, no problem. It just takes me a lot longer.
Yeah.
And this being able, and I know the perspective is right. You're not going to get done with the car and be like, that back wheel looks wonky, and I can't put my finger on what looks wonky, but something just ain't right. Like, it's always going to be good. And and I can still twist stuff and bend stuff and change stuff as I'm inking it and make it into whatever I need. I can dent up the cars and all kinds of stuff. But that is a tip I learned from, I think, maybe Jay Parker or something. And it has saved me so much time. And the money I invested in that has paid off many times over in saving me time and making these jobs go so much faster.
Yeah, I know a few artists who do kind of tricks like that. One that comes to mind is Stepan Sejic. When he was working on Witchblade, he had the armor done like that in the 3D modeling. So whenever he had to draw her in the Witchblade armor, he could then bring out the 3D model, put it on appropriately, and then just draw over it. And so it was a consistent design.
So many little details, to have something like that to help you keep all those details straight is good. Like, I'm still buying Matchbox cars and stuff left and right when I see a new interesting, like, city vehicle or a bus, and I will pick that up and look at it and, use that as reference when I'm drawing and stuff. It just helps so much, like, trying to make up what the bottom of a bus looks like out of your imagination is tough. But if you can just flip one over and look at what it looks like, okay, this is where the exhaust goes, and okay, there's the transmission, and
they don't like it when you go out to the streets and actually climb under the bus real quick.
They get so paranoid.
I know. People just don't understand artists. All right, let's go back to the story.
Absolutely.
So, what is the cause of these mutations?
That is a really good question. And that is a question that, I'm going to be honest, probably isn't going to get answered for a long time. It is out there, and I do know what it is, but nobody else knows. Like, this started coming up, in like the 30s and 40s. There have always been some genomes, which has led to legends and demigods and all these things throughout history. But it started getting a lot more prevalent after the Industrial Revolution and stuff. And they started showing up more and more in the 30s. Several of them, fought in the Great Wars on both sides. And some of them are still around today. Like, one of my superhero characters I've had for years, Capital Punishment, is going to be in the background of this book, and he's kind of a very, very mean analog, kind of like a cross between the Punisher and Captain America. Like, he doesn't have any real superpowers. He's just too angry and mean to die. And so he's still around, and he's still out fighting crime, mainly just beating people up that he thinks are evil. And a lot of those are genomes, whether they're just, underprivileged or they're actually like up to trouble, doesn't really matter. Everybody's a bad guy to him. He's a hammer, everybody's a nail. And he's been through so much stuff over the years. He looks like Freddy Krueger under the suit. He doesn't have a nose anymore. Like, everything's been burned off of him. So there is no secret identity. So he just spends all day being Capital Punishment, beating people up and drinking in a bar. But like, he's been around since that day. He's seen the world change. You're going to see superheroes in this world. Like there's a alien insect man in this world that works for the superhero organization that can grow to 100 feet tall. Like there are superheroes. Kids get drafted out of high school and go to work for Alpha, and they get fancy uniforms and they get media crews following them around, filming their adventures. They're TV stars and get their own movies and stuff. Like there is a path if you look right and you have cool powers and they think they can use you to their advantage, you can get drafted into the pros. And then there's just a whole lot of other poor people that are just trying to make a living and get out of the blocks. And you'll see the aftermath of this because, like, we're following the cops around. They're going to have to do, like, crowd control when they're fighting giant aliens in the middle of the city. And, you see them trying to rescue people from cars when they're getting smashed and stuff by people wearing mech suits trying to rob banks and whatnot. And, it's like watching Rescue 911 kind of shows in a world full of superheroes and seeing what's going on. And I'm really hoping if this does well and people enjoy it as much as I think they're going to, I've got plans for a series following the fire department around, following the SWAT team around, following a team of special forces in the military, and see just how vastly different all these situations are. And and people's reactions to cops is very different than people's reactions to the fire department and stuff like that. And the camaraderie in the military is very different than any of the others. And, getting to show all that and see what it's like for them is going to be so much fun. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
All right. We need to do another quick break. When we come back, we will talk about the Kickstarter itself and some of the rewards that are being offered. So we're talking to Fish Lee, and we will be right back.
Thanks for tuning into The Experience. Help us out and hit subscribe over on YouTube and click the bell when you do. Need some help? Scan the QR code in the bottom corner.
This is The Experience.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hey there. Hi there. Oh there. You're as welcome as can be.
Hi, I'm Nancy McCann. Welcome to Friday Night Live on The Experience.
Welcome, everybody. It's Fat Jack's Comic Crypt. Brendan, Al, Jason, hanging out.
There I am. Welcome back to Kicking It with Henry, folks. I am your host, Henry Copeland. It's great to be here with you guys.
So we are going to talk about books that are in stores this week.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mishmash.
Hello, and welcome to the Black Comics Universe, presented by Peep Game Comics.
And you gotta love it that the first people in the minute to skim it are creators.
Up, everybody! Welcome to another Wednesday Warriors. My name is Joey Galvez, and this is my pal Ambrosia.
Hey, everybody! Welcome to Space Cadet.
Hey!
What's up?
Welcome, everyone, for another episode of I Must Ask You a Question.
Hi, everybody! Welcome to Nerd News Now.
Hey, this is Rex. Welcome to Comic Collectibles.
Hey, hello, all you happy people. Welcome to the Dan Wickline Show.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is the crazy show that we do on Thursdays called What's in the Box? What's in the Box?
Comic culture and sales.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere The Experience is all the time.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show. Remember to stick around right after this episode. We will be showing comics collectibles with Rex and John. And the show today has a special Star Trek theme. And some of the collectibles they'll be offering are some of the original Gold Key Star Trek comics, the Star Trek book and record sets, and the some limited edition Jay Lee covers for the Star Trek Green Lantern book that came out a couple of years ago. So stick around for that. It'll be coming up right after the show. We are talking to Fish Lee, who has a new Kickstarter going called The Green Zone. Is it The Green Zone or just Green Zone?
It is Green Zone, Life in the Blocks.
Green Zone, Life in the Blocks. The Kickstarter's going now. It's been up for a few days. Why don't you tell people some of the things that they could get besides the first issue? What are some of the rewards, and they can, jump in there.
We start out with the easy digital rewards, so if you don't have a huge budget, like I set myself a pretty reasonable budget for Kickstarters. I'm an artist making a living drawing superheroes beating each other up in their underwear. So I don't have a lot of spare money. So I tend to back stuff at the digital level. So I wanted to have a good digital level. We've got the first issue of Green Zone. We've got the source book that I'm doing also, which isn't your standard like DC Who's Who type handbook. This is like police reports on these characters, reports from the training academy and stuff. And most of this was written by their human training officers. So there's a whole lot of bias. It really helps give you a feel for this world and just how stacked against them stuff is. There are secrets and stuff in here that you're going to see to, spur on the mysteries and what's going on and get people asking questions. There's little hints and things put in that I'm hoping sharp-eyed people like you that notice the number on his shirt and stuff, that I'm hoping people like you ask about some of that stuff, and I'm going to have answers for it. But you can get that. There's T-shirts that you can get. There's art prints. Like once it gets to a certain level, maybe you can't afford to get all the variant covers, because we got variant covers by Stephen Butler, who's worked on Web of Spider-Man for Marvel and Archie Comics and Sonic the Hedgehog and stuff at Disney. He's done all kinds of awesome stuff.
Did he do a book called Cat and Mouse?
Yeah, he did. He did like the Badger. He's done all kinds of stuff. I just love the dude. And like, it turns out we met each other like back in 93 and stuff. Like, he's a great guy, good friend of mine. Love him. He did this cover for us. There's a cover by Hoyt Silva that did Last Stop. That was a big hit on Webtoons and then got published through 12 Gauge Comics, I think. And did Yumi, the Spy Fatale, that I just absolutely loved. I love his style. I love his art. He did a cover of Virgil busting through this wall. It just came out great. We have a cover that's going to get unlocked by Ryan Robinson that just is beautiful. You can see what the artwork looks like if you join the FSK Now fan group on Facebook. It's for our particular fans. It's a secret reward right now. You can go there and join the group and see what it looks like. And it is awesome. That's going to get unlocked as a variant cover. But if you can't afford the variant covers, like I can't back that high usually. I can't back 10 different Kickstarters and back at that kind of level. So everybody, once it gets above a certain level, gets a print of all the covers. So if you just buy the issue A cover with Virgil, like I've shown, or if you get the cover that I hand painted with Virgil and his training officer, Kim, on there, you could just get one, get the source book. You'll still get all the art. There's bookmarks, T-shirts, secret rewards. There's lots of great stuff all the way up to you can get the actual 16 by 20 inch painting that I made for that cover and hang it on your wall. If you're a fan of original art, you can get layers where I'll do a pinup of a single character for you or do a pinup of 5 characters for you. Now, I'm not going to design characters for you. Like, you give me your characters, I will draw them. But there's all kinds of stuff you can get in there. There's sketch covers if you want that. I will straight up draw you a fresh sketch of whatever you want on the cover and send it to you. Lots and lots of neat stuff on there at a lot of different levels. And there's a lot of that is also available as add-ons. There's also, I'm really excited about, is the FSK connecting cover for all the books that are coming out the first half of FSK this year. The first one was 5-star, and all of these covers connect. 5-star, there's an issue for Spider Squirrel, Emerald Quest, and then Green Zone's coming out. All these covers connect into one big long image, so you can pick that up while you're here, or pick up some of the other connecting covers and the add-ons if you missed it. So much cool stuff. I'm excited. I can't wait, man. I'm so anxious to be signing thank you cards and doing sketches, and I have really enjoyed the offering commissions as a part of the Kickstarters for all my friends that I've worked with over the last few years, because I've gotten to draw some awesome stuff, and it has been a lot of fun.
So, what inspired you to come up with Virgil? He seems, now I get that there's a lot of characters and stuff, but he kind of seems to be the front and center guy.
Yeah, he gets the most attention. It's not just Virgil's book, but he gets the most attention because he's an 8-foot tall horny toad. Like the little horny toads I used to catch as a kid out in my backyard in Oklahoma. That's exactly what he is. That's what he looks like. And I had only ever once before seen anybody try and make a character out of a horny toad, and he was a real short guy. And I was like, well, why is he short? Like, he's so much bigger than everything he tries to eat. And I know what it's like. You apparently know what it's like to be bigger than everybody else around you, for people to be afraid of you for no reason because you're bigger than them. Like, if it's dark out and I'm just walking down the street, women will grab their purse and run away. Like, I scare people from a distance for no reason, just because I'm big. And a lot of that has gone into Virgil. And, there was a time when I tried to be as scary as I could possibly be to keep people at a distance. And a lot of that goes into Virgil. A lot of the things people have assumed about me goes into Virgil. Like, there was a time people just tend to assume that you're stupid because you're bigger than everybody else. And admittedly, in high school, I was a hoodlum and a thug, and I hung out with the bad guys. But I'm also like on the high end of the autism spectrum, and social interaction was really tough for me. I could not figure out how people make friends. Social interaction is a foreign language that I don't know. But the thugs had a real simple language. Scariest guy wins. And I'm bigger than everybody. So all I had to do is knock down a few people, twist a couple arms, and suddenly I'm king. That was easy. So I thrived. I did so good as a thug. And so I know what it's like to be a scary dude. I know what it's like for people to be afraid of you. I know what it's like for people to assume that you're stupid, that they can sick you like a dog on, people they don't like, all these kinds of things. And so you're going to get to see that through Virgil. In his heart, he's actually a really peaceful guy. I was a peaceful guy. I was more scared than the people that were pulling guns on me back in the day. But I had to try and look big and scary so that I didn't get shot. Praise God, I'm still here kicking it. And, we're going to see Virgil have to learn to overcome his fear. The only power he has is a fear reaction. When he gets scared enough, he wets his pants and shoots blood out of his eyes. And, that's absolutely terrifying to people when it happens, but it's a pure fear response. It's not like I'm trying to hurt you. It's I'm terrified. And, so we see what that's like for him. But eventually, down the line, he's got to figure out how to get a hold of this, how to get control of himself, how to keep his cool in scary situations, and, survive being a cop on these terrifying streets.
All right, we're just about out of time. Everybody, please check out Green Zone, Life on the Block. It's a really good looking book. I got a chance to see a couple of the preview pages. The art, the coloring, the lettering, it all looks top notch. It's a really good setup. So you get a couple jerky cops in the beginning, just like you'd expect.
There he goes.
So check it out. The link's in the chat, or you can go to
GoMrFish.com. Nice and easy.
Yeah, GoMrFish.com, and that'll take you to the Kickstarter. So check it out. Fish, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. This was fun. I'd love to talk Moon Knight with you. Oh, man, that first episode. Oh, I loved it.
Well, I do a podcast on Sunday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific time called Pop Go the Writers. And if you'd like to come on and talk Moon Knight with myself and a gentleman named Paul Story, you are welcome.
Absolutely. I am just loving it. The shocking, jarring back and forth between, I don't think anybody's ever done as good a representation of what it must be like for people with DID to just jump. Suddenly you're in a different place and everything has changed. And, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, they're doing a fantastic job, and we'll be talking about it tomorrow on the show. But let me wrap it up here. Check out the Kickstarter. Stick around for Comics Collectibles, a Star Trek episode, and I'll be back tomorrow to talk Moon Knight. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.